This is a home away from home for the Nolans, a place they know they're welcome, along with Victoria's service dog, Alan.
He's my eyes, but he's so much more than that. Like, he's given me independence and freedom, confidence. There was a time when I was afraid to leave my house.
And yet, when they stopped at this Tim Hortons for a bite, they were told animals are not allowed inside.
I said, it's a guide dog, I'm blind, and he told us we could leave it outside.
Despite his insistence, the confrontation and stares from other customers, they refused to leave.
It was kind of like our Tim Hortons sit-in. We had our donut and our coffee.
They say about 10 minutes later, the Tim's employee came back and told them they could stay, but the damage had already been done.
Everyone who was sitting around us heard the confrontation. I still feel embarrassed.
She says it's exactly the kind of situation she dreads so much that despite being an accomplished author and Paralympic rower, sometimes she lacks the confidence to go somewhere new. They don't want other people encountering the same barriers, so they contacted Tim's head office.
We haven't had a response yet.
Nothing?
No.
According to Tim's own policies, which are available online, every staff member who deals with the public gets training in accessibility issues. It also says specifically that service dogs are welcome. After we reached out multiple times, Tim Hortons emailed a response claiming the staff member didn't realize Alan was a guide dog and that once he was informed that it was a service dog, he did personally apologize. CNIB points out there are no fewer than 3 pieces of legislation protecting the use of service dogs.
We are equal citizens, deserving of equal access and opportunities.
There's humiliation, embarrassment. There's also anger. Soon we're hosting the Parapan Am Games. We're supposed to be a world-class city.
She says it's sad that Toronto businesses aren't ready and that she's only certain she'll be welcome back in tried and true places like this. Christina Stevens, Global News.
It has happened again. Another woman ordered out of a Toronto eatery because she had her guide dog at her side. Earlier this week, we told you about an incident at Tim Hortons. Now it's happened at a sushi restaurant. But as Christina Stevens reports, the owner says he has done nothing wrong.
7.
Even when playing cards with her husband, Caroline Bordeaux is always up for a challenge. But she was blown away by the hand she was dealt when they and guide dog Potter headed to a nearby sushi restaurant for a late dinner and were immediately stopped by the owner.
No dogs, no dogs. Doesn't talk to me, talks to my husband, and points at the door to tell us to leave.
I said, well, it's a guide dog, he's allowed in. No dogs are allowed in. Are you picking up? No, we want to eat in. No, you can't eat in with the dog.
They say it quickly became clear the owner was intractable. We went to talk to him ourselves.
I said you can leave the dog outside or in the car, but he said no.
Iki Sushi's owner says he was worried that the dog fur might bother other customers, particularly if they're allergic. So he suggested the man could be the guide.
The man can handle this problem. I think the dog just outside.
And Bob Huang wouldn't budge, even after saying he understood it was the law.
Because she uses the dog to see her, to guide.
I understand this way, but you're just thinking herself. Do you thinking in other people?
He says in the same situation, he'd say no again.
But the animal is a tool that she uses.
Okay, you can say the dog is a tool and the cat's tool and what is a tool, but the animal is an animal.
This comes just after we reported about another Toronto woman who was told her guide dog was not allowed in this Tim Hortons.
If someone's in a wheelchair, you don't tell them to leave it outside with the bicycles.
After she refused to leave, eventually staff relented.
The law says that a person who's blind or partially sighted, accompanied by her guide dog, must be allowed in places open to the public.
Still, the Bordeaux, having not even been able to sit down or order, left, exhausted.
This is really humiliating. I could write not just one book, but 10 of them about all the different incidents that keep happening.
So what would you do if you were in this situation, knowing there are 3 pieces of legislation protecting your rights? Well, the Bordeaux called the police and the city. You'll be shocked at the response they got from both and the major gaps in the system that keeps allowing this to happen. We'll have that tomorrow. Crystal?
All right, Christina Stevens, thank you.
A humiliating retreat to her car. That was the only option left to Caroline Bordeaux when the owner of this sushi restaurant refused to let her in with her guide dog Potter. She phoned police and the call taker's response left her stunned.
She said it's a private establishment. They have a right to choose who to serve and not serve. Big myth. The second thing she said is, it is not the police's job.
Global News was told the same thing by Toronto police multiple times. But an ID card for people with guide dogs issued by the Attorney General says call police.
Imagine their confusion when it says right on the back, alleged violations of the Act should be referred to your local police service. But their local police service is completely unaware of this.
It's true. Several of the people that I asked when you called me about it weren't aware that we are ones to investigate this, because simply is that we don't get calls for these.
You really don't know exactly how many calls. There may be few, but you don't know how many.
No, that's right.
Police should be investigating under the Blind Persons Rights Act, which has been around since 1990. And there have been recent convictions. But they still insisted they don't have the authority until we sent them the act and a statement from the Ministry of the Attorney General saying they do.
Once you had, real something to put forward to me to investigate, I did. We were wrong in this.
Toronto police say they'll be sending out information to all staff to make sure they are aware that they do have a role in this kind of investigation. As far as Bordeaux being told Tuesday by the police that a private establishment could refuse her.
Has anyone gone to the call taker and said, this part is incorrect, you shouldn't say that?
No, not yet.
To be clear, the city, through licensing, and the province, through human rights, also have roles in these cases. But such a failure from those who are paid to protect.
It was a very alarming experience because police being ignorant is scary.
Toronto police say they're offering her a full apology. Christina Stevens, Global News.
We begin tonight with important changes to help those living with disabilities. Last week, we introduced you to a woman denied restaurant service because she relies on a guide dog. After our stories aired, police finally allowed her to file a report. And now, as Christina Stevens tells you, the city is taking action as well.
Yeah, go forward.
Finally, Caroline Bordeaux is getting somewhere with Toronto police.
We stepped in the front door, and then he came out. And
she's filing a police report saying because of her guide dog Potter, she was denied service at this sushi restaurant.
Hopefully the restaurant owner will learn something, but my goal is to have better awareness from the people that are supposed to be enforcing it.
When she first called police last week, they said they couldn't do a thing, a claim they repeated to Global News over and over, until we showed them the Blind Persons Rights Act and proof from the Ministry of the Attorney General. Only then did they concede they should investigate.
Absolutely. We were wrong in this.
But Bordeaux says she still doesn't feel like police are taking the issue or her seriously.
Not surprised, but sad.
She says she's still awaiting the official apology promised by Toronto police. Meanwhile, she also called 311, and so far no one's gotten back to her. Yet the city can investigate and, if deemed necessary, hand out a $500 fine on the spot to any establishment they license. We tried calling 311 ourselves.
We only have city issues that are not emergency.
So it's definitely not a city issue then?
No,
with licensing? Or?
So as a result of your story, we actually had to look at what information we have provided 311, and I do believe there's a gap there.
Tracy Cook says 311 operators will be better trained right away. As for the restaurant owner who we talked to last week,
she uses the dog to see her, to guide.
I understand this way, but you're just thinking herself. Do you thinking in other people?
One of my officers, when we saw it in your coverage, actually went out to the location and spoke to the store owner and advised him of his responsibility.
She also says they've had a closer look at their bylaw and it only addresses blind people using guide dogs. So they'll be looking to update it to include any person with any kind of service dog.
That is reassuring, but I am way more concerned about the police.
She says she wants the police chief to get involved in making sure there is compulsory training.
It can't be just we're sending a memo to everyone.
And another viewer with a guide dog has told us that 2 weeks ago, police turned her away as well. So all of this has raised the question, is Toronto really ready to host the Parapan Games this summer? We'll have more on that tomorrow. Crystal?
Thank you very much. Christina Stevens reporting live.
These athletes are ready to represent their country at home.
Potentially winning a gold medal right here at home. There's That's the ultimate dream.
And she's hopeful Toronto will show its best side in welcoming para-athletes.
Well, accessibility is always a challenge, and I can't take the streetcar in front of my condo. I think awareness is key.
The need for awareness has become abundantly clear with our stories about restaurants telling customers with guide dogs they're not welcome, and the challenges in getting police and the city to act. Both women impacted have questioned whether Toronto is truly ready to host 1,600 para-athletes.
I don't think so overall, no.
Concerns echoed by this advocate for people with disabilities.
We are not ready to ensure that these folks will have a place to eat, or even a place to go to the washroom, or assured accessible public transit to get around.
He says it's great that the new facilities will be accessible and volunteers trained.
But what about the para-athletes who want to venture outside that bubble and see Toronto?
We took that question straight to the mayor.
I do think these stories help.
He agrees more needs to be done to get the word out, to make businesses aware of their responsibilities.
I think the biggest job that's not being done, and it's something that I want to turn myself to with our own Disability Issues Committee, is public education.
John Tory says that can be tackled before the Games, unlike structural issues with buildings and transit that'll take longer to improve, including access to the subway.
We're way behind on installing elevators.
He points out all levels of government have to do better. Organizers of the Games say they're about to launch a new initiative called Are You Ready?
We're asking businesses to make 4 small but impactful and low-cost accessibility improvements to their businesses. And they include things like ensuring that you have a no-step entry to your business.
Ferguson hopes that seeing athletes at their best will also change people's perspective.
They see the disability disappear, and they see the potential in people, and everybody has potential.
In our stories, we have addressed what the police and city can do, but a large responsibility when it comes to accessibility lies with the province. Cutbacks in their efforts, and what happened when I called their hotline. We'll have that tomorrow. Crystal?
Good girl.
Helen Kitchen and guide dog Corolla are always welcome at this corner store, but face rejection elsewhere.
When I call a taxi, they don't want to take her, even going into the mall, restaurants, there's all kinds of places.
She's lost count, but has developed new tactics, stubbornness, and a refusal to budge, like when the airport shuttle wouldn't take Corolla.
I told them, I'm going to sit here and we'll call the police.
Global News has already reported on other people with guide dogs facing similar battles. And despite all of that, advocates for people with disabilities say the provincial government is cutting back on enforcement.
That's the wrong way to go. It's backwards.
The government disagrees, saying they're making sure businesses comply with accessibility legislation.
We're not backing away from enforcement. We're doing 1,200 audits this year.
Hold on. Last year, the number of audits was close to 2,000. Only apparently because they had some extra cash. Still, it's definitely a decrease of more than a third. And yet, their own numbers also say that 60% of organizations aren't compliant.
We're ahead of most other jurisdictions, if not all other jurisdictions.
And as far as reporting infractions, they have a toll-free number people can call to submit feedback and lodge complaints. We tried.
The government has developed a variety of tools.
After a 2.5-minute speech on what the government is doing, Service Ontario answers.
Like if you're looking for like a complaint type of inquiry, you would have to do it through human rights.
She could transfer us to someone who would take feedback and give us the right phone number. Okay, but then more than 20 minutes on hold.
If you would like to leave a voicemail, please press 1 now.
That didn't work. Nothing worked. No voicemail, no live person. All in, after more than a half hour, we gave up.
We are a leader in terms of our legislation and the standards that we have in place.
The Premier insists education, not enforcement, is key. And yet, after traveling across Canada,
I've only been challenged on my access in Ontario.
Of course, it's not all bad. There are some businesses, large and small, which welcome people of all abilities, and yes, service dogs too. Tomorrow, we look at some success stories. Crystal?
Good girl. That's a good girl.
Sweetie's job is to help Danny Leung get to work safely.
Wendy, you good?
But But once in the kitchen, Leung and his staff rely on each other.
Michael, I'm coming back to the coffee machine.
Every move is choreographed. Everyone at the Cultural Cafe is visually impaired.
We want to demonstrate to the community we are still able to do something.
Danny Leung says some people think you're blind, poor you, just stay home. So he founded the cafe, not just to help staff develop skills and confidence, but to show off those skills and confidence to customers.
They see us, they see blind people doing things here.
Which soup do they want?
Manager Wendy Ho has been losing her vision gradually. She says sharing her story with those who come in helps them understand.
With the vision that I have right now, even though it's limited, but I can still make great food.
They make a great coffee, great tea, and great lunches.
Peter Chu says when he first came here, he wasn't sure what to expect. Now he has a healthy respect.
Everybody deserves an opportunity.
Not just here, but to enjoy daily life like everyone else.
Yes.
And that includes educating the public on the use of guide dogs.
We could able to go to school, we travel because of the dog, and I could do a lot of things by myself.
And there are plenty of easy ways other businesses can help people who are visually impaired, like restaurants offering menus in Braille. Chris Chamberlain says more and more companies are calling him to convert all kinds of publications and documents to Braille. And he says while it's just one of many things they can do, it's an important one.
It certainly is welcome to be able to live independently and to be able to make our own choices.
Meanwhile, Leung says their customers walk away with more than a good coffee.
They come and see us and say, wow, if you could do it, I think there's hope for me.
In this way, he says, they inspire the community. Christina Stevens, Global News.